Betmaker Show. This is the horse racing picks preview for the Met Mile and other stakes races that run at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 4th, 2020. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
All right, folks, we got a great weekend of horse racing, specifically at Belmont Park, and we've got an all-stakes pick four, highlighted by one of the best races of the year. And boy, is it contentious this year. And that is the Met Mile. That's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Mile. That'll be race 9. But the pick 4 starts in race 8. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. And we're going to dive in here. I think some really talented horses will be competing. Bob Baffert chipping in. It's going to be a fun day in New York on July 4th. But by the way, happy holiday weekend, everybody. Happy 4th of July. And it's nice talking sports and some things that give us a little bit of entertainment. So on top of entertainment, we want to make some money. So let's start with a mile turf event, the Grade 3 Poker. And this will start the All-Stakes Pick 4. And we're looking at this event, and there's some serious contenders in here. Valid Point will take a lot of money. 4 career races, 3 of them have resulted in victory for trainer Chad Brown. And Chad Brown on the turf, you know you're going to take a boatload of dough. Javier Castellano is in the irons for Brown here and is coming off the lone blemish on his record. That was the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile. Now, the good news is, I mean, there are 3 really fine races, and that's the good news. And one of them was a mile victory at Belmont Park right about this time last summer on June 7th. The last time out, just got steadied late in what's a prestigious race, the Shadwell Turf Mile, and in fact was the beaten favorite in that race. So you could make the case that this one's a bit of an overlay at 7-2, and every reason to believe this one's going to run another big race. Now, Got Stormy has 8 wins in 21 lifetime starts and is just clearly always showing up in graded stakes races, grade 1s, 3s, ran second in the Breeders' Cup Mile last fall at Santa Anita to Uni. And this one has a nice stalking style. Second race off the layoff, didn't break well in the Grade 3 Bogey at 1 mile and a 16th for trainer Mark Cassie. Velasquez has the mount here. And, you know, we always talk about this angle. When Todd Velasquez is in a race and he's going against Todd Pletcher, you better take notice. Pletcher is Velasquez's meal ticket. They are attached at the hip, have been for years. Velasquez literally has first call on everything in Todd Pletcher's barn. And when Pletcher, you know, it's a unique thing. You know, every time we bring the angle up, we talk about some trainers say, hey, if you don't ride, you know, this horse for me today, and I'm putting you on all my great horses, you're not going to ride my other great horses. That relationship is not like that with Pletcher. He green lights Velasquez to go elsewhere. And in many, many instances, it results in wins, because if Velasquez goes elsewhere, he is basically telling me this is the horse, you know, basically head-to-head with Pletcher. But Got Stormy's got tons of back class. 8 career wins, all 8 of them coming at this distance. The one I'm kind of looking at with intrigue is another Chad Brown horse, and this one is the 5-2 morning line favorite. Lightly raced, 3 wins, 4 career starts. That's the 9 value proposition. Now, in terms of back class, you know, has not competed in the kind of events that the others that we've just talked about have. But I think the stalking style that's employed here will suit nicely. Irad Ortiz is just white hot. He's winning at a 32% clip. And, you know, you look at this last race. Now, albeit it's a 62,000 optional claimer, but one with a nice stalking style, one with ease. And I just think this is a horse that's sitting on tilt. And I got to look at this one as the top choice, albeit it's the morning line favorite at 5-2. But I think the 3 horses that we mentioned certainly are viable, and you would utilize them in the pick 4. I think it's a very competitive race. Now, the Met Mile is just an incredible event on an annual basis. Tons of prestige here, just lightning fast. Some of these horses, I mean, they'll probably be cutting a mile in the neighborhood of 133 and change, which is just ridiculous. And the field is so deep. The one is Network Effect, and the aforementioned Arad Ortiz is up for Chad Brown. Brown's an incredible trainer. His prowess is on the turf. This one caught a sloppy track last time out, and it was a race, the Grade 1 Carter, which is another monster race, was won by Vekoma, the number 2, and that's the one I think you got to look long and hard at. Now, Vekoma is on a 2-race winning streak. The last race put up 110 buyer in the 7-furlong Grade 1 Carter. I think this son of Candy Ride is that good. Has just shown tons of ability in 7 career races with 5 victories. The only pause for concern here is that last race, and that buyer at 110 is remarkable. That's one of the fastest races of the year, but it came on a sloppy track, and you wonder if that the real upgrade here was because it was a wet track. That being said, Vekoma competed in the Kentucky Derby last spring, and that race came up sloppy, and it was by a healthy margin the worst race of Candy Ride of the Vekoma of Vekoma's career, the son of Candy Ride. So, in terms of this one, just showing up with that race off the shelf, a repeat of that, and Vekoma's the winner. Now, Mackenzie, Bob Baffert brings this one in, and this one ran second in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year to Vino Rosso. 8 wins, 16 career starts. Gets a win at 7 furlongs in a Grade 2 event at Santa Anita after returning from a big race over in Saudi Arabia. And the one thing you can say with Baffert horses is they travel well. So a lot of these horses, when they race and they're ripping them up at Santa Anita, sometimes they go traveling and it just doesn't work out. It's just hard to shoot holes. It's this son of Street Sense. He is that good. But, boy, I'm telling you, he's got a bunch of horses in here, got a tiger by the tail. The 4 is Hog Creek Hustle. Big balloon number would need the race to collapse with Jose Ortiz aboard. Code of Honor. Here we go again with John Velasquez riding for Shug McGahee. Nice stalking, or actually not stalking. I mean, there's a closing victory in the mud in a Grade 3 race at Belmont. And, this one could be laying in the weeds. 3-1 morning line. He has a style. He's going to look for a speed battle up front. There's lots of speed in here, but has put up some great victories from off the pace. Nothing better than the Travers, I believe. That race in the Travers was just spectacular. 1 by 3, and then at Belmont Park last year in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, was beaten a nose by Vino Rosso. Does that sound familiar? We just mentioned that horse. Vino Rosso went on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. So Code of Honor is 1 for 3 at the distance. You could take a look at. Rosario's riding great for the 6 endorsed with Bill Mott aboard. Bill Mott's the trainer. Rosario's aboard, and is one with a versatile running style, and just missed by a half length to Code of Honor last time out. But I got a funny feeling that might have been a result of the wet track. The 7, Mr. Freeze, is really intriguing to me at 8-1 in the morning line, and I think is one that you'll get that price. And this is Dale Romans shipping in here. First time at Belmont Park, but what I love is Manny Franco's aboard, and Franco was aboard this one in his best career effort, and that was the Gulfstream Park Mile, and won that race emphatically by 3 lanes and won with ease in 134-4. And I just think this one has a chance to put it together. And the one thing that's happened, the last race was the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap and finished 3rd. There was nothing to write home about. But the one thing that's been happening in this odd dynamic with the shutdown, horses that have been running at Oaklawn Park, now that meet's ended, and they're spreading out all around North America, let me tell you something. These horses are coming off that Oaklawn Park surface, and they go elsewhere, and they are running monster races. I think absolutely the number 7, Mr. Freeze at 8-1. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is my top choice. The 8 Warriors Charge, Giroux's aboard for Brad Cox, great trainer. It's got speed here, but it's going to have company. I think Mr. Freeze is the price play, the number 7. And Dale Roman's sneaking in here too. Really not like a New York-based trainer. They may thumb their nose at this one from a price perspective, and I think Mr. Freeze has a real opportunity to get the job done with Vacoma and McKenzie, maybe waging a war in deep stretch. I think you got a real opportunity here for Mr. Freeze to, if not get the jump on him at the top of the stretch and hold him off. The versatility for this one, I think could actually come from just off the pace. But I think Mr. Freeze is going to get first run at the pace setters and might be a midful. Got to be a great Met Mile. But we're only halfway home in the All Stakes Pick 4 at Belmont Park. When we come back, we can take a look at the Manhattan.
Let's make some money tonight.
For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. So then we are halfway home here in the All Stakes Pick 4, and we get a nice price maybe with Mr. Freeze. Could make this an intriguing number. Could be chalky. I mean, there's so many great horses in here. But I think there are price plays that are out there. But I'm looking at this Grade 1 turf event, 1.25 miles in distance, $400,000 the purse. And right off the bat, you don't go very much farther than the rail with the one instilled regard, a 2-to-1 morning line. Chad Brown's the trainer, best turf trainer and the best jockey with Arad Ortiz coming off a hard-fought win in the Grade 2 Fort Marcy here at Belmont Park. Has a nice, consistent stalking style. But sometimes you got to look, I always say this, boy, when the trainer's got several horses in there, look at the other horse or look at the longer-priced horse. And again, we're going with John Velasquez aboard for Chad Brown in the Grade 2 Charlie Whittingham. Beaten favorite, but just by a nose. But that was the first race off a shelf at Santa Anita. And then comes back here to Belmont. And this one started his career over in Europe. And I think this is one that has an incredible late closing kick. And the race could set up for this one. And at a decent price. I think it's one you can consider. I'm going to skip to the number 4, Sadler's Joy, with kind of the same running profile as the horse we just mentioned, Rock Emperor. Castellano's aboard, has competed at marathon distances. The thing is wild. This race is 1.25 miles, but we're sitting there saying it's a turn back in distance. It's a shorter distance, which can promote a real big closing kick. And I think what Sadler's Joy has to do here in Castellano working out a trip is just to not lose touch with the pace setters. And then it's all about sustaining a run and working out a trip for a runner with this running style. That's the one rub. You can sit there and say, and we did the same thing in this podcast about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where we built everything around a horse in the last leg of the Pick 4. And the horse that we keyed was the best horse by a country mile, but just got a bad trip, got bottled up, and then by the time got out and came charging, it was too late. So it's a horse race, right? Anything can happen. I'd never discount Joel Rosario aboard Devamani, the French bred here, 9-2, another that can come on from off the pace. And I'm not going to go too deep in that race. I respect Rosario, but I think it's the 1, 2, and 4 for me. And I got a funny feeling Rock Emperor might be the nice price play. It's Brown's other horse would be the way to go in there. Now we wrap it up with the Grade 2 Suburban. This is a $200,000 race. This one at a classic distance, 1.25 miles. Listen to the horses in here. I mean, big name horses. Tacitus is running, adds blinkers for trainer Bill Mott. Tacitus has, let's just cut to the chase. Tacitus has burned a lot of money for a lot of players. I mean, this horse shows up in all the big races, and to me, just has a serious bout of seconditis. It just doesn't ever kick the door down. And 9-5 morning line, Tacitus is going to take all kinds of money again. But clearly, I think Yeah, I would say, we're going to try to beat him. And I learned this lesson the hard way. The horse player, I can beat him. It's the same person that's betting $110 to win 100 in a football game that's -3. That's a coin flip. But the same person will sit there and say, hey, if a horse is going to fall down to lose, is going to say, I'm going to, at 9-5, at a plus price, basically, say, I'm going to try to beat him because it's not good enough. I mean, if the favorite's good enough, play the favorite. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think this one is clearly a flawed individual. The one I'm going with, it's in the morning line at 2-1. I think Junior Alvarado aboard for John Kimmel. Mr. Buff has 14 career wins. 4 of them have come at Belmont, but is just an incredible front-running individual here. Did not get the lead last time out in what I believe was a prep for this race. Ultimately finished second, but I think that was a race that was needed by this 6-year-old, and I think Alvarado's going to get to the front, and it's going to be very tough for anybody to track this one down. If I was going to come up with a price play, he's going to have company on the front end. Moretti can go, but I don't think he can stick with him. I think the one that's sneaky, and again, don't discount what Irad Ortiz has been doing, is the 7, Just Whistle at 8-1. It's a nice price play, son of Pioneer of the Nile. And one that caught a sloppy track at Gulfstream Park last race and relished it. Came roaring up and got the win by a neck. But the one thing is this one does sustain a run, and I think is peaking. The buyers are on the improve, and coming in here to Belmont, I think Just Whistle maybe could challenge Mr. Buff, maybe surprise you a little bit from off the pace. But I think this race, the final race, is all about the number 4, Mr. Buff, with Junior Alvarado for trainer John Kimmel. Great races, opportunities to make money with pick 3s, pick 4s, daily doubles. And, in this instance, I think we're going to be entertained by some of the best horses on the planet, but it's also an opportunity for us to make a little bit of money. So we wish you the very best of luck on a holiday weekend with the All-Stakes Pick 4 at Belmont Park. I'm Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Betmaker, let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction, as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At betmaker.com and the Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling. An approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.